I've thought long and hard about doing this video, and I almost didn't do it. Now, the reason that I wouldn't upload and do this video was because I've been a bit worried about quote mining, really. And quote mining is the concern that somebody will take one part of what you're saying and run with it and believe it to be the entirety of your argument. Because the truth of the matter is I don't really have an argument. This is more of an exploratory process of me trying to find out exactly what the problem is with Julen Lopetegui. And the reason I thought I won't do this is because some people say, oh, you just want him. You just want this Lopetegui. And the truth of the matter is, I don't. He's not my preferred candidate. I can think of 4 or 5 people, probably more, that I would prefer before him. However, I don't seem to be as anti him or as angry about him as a lot of others are. I'm very clear in my mind. I think David Moyes has run his course. I don't want to overly discuss David Moyes in this video. Maybe we'll get to him towards the end. But the reason that's brought the whole Lopetegui thing to my attention is this petition. Now, there's a petition which is... I've not linked it in the description below. It'd be easy to find. Lopetegui petition. If you want to go and find it, it's all over social media. It's everywhere. I'm not putting it on here because... I don't really believe in it, truth be known. And the reason for that is that I think there's a really good chance that we'll get this guy. And even though he's not the manager I want, I don't particularly want him. If he is the guy, I think we've got to welcome him. And, well, you can do what you want to do. But I would like to think that I would welcome him. And I don't want him to immediately start his first day's work training thinking, oh, this lot don't want me here. I think it'd be really, really difficult. Never mind football, for anybody to start their first day of work thinking that everybody there doesn't want them to be there. I also don't believe that the petition will do any good at all. Look, as we understand it at the moment, I think the club have pretty much made up their mind on Lopetegui. There's still some rumours that it might be Amorim. I hope it is. That would be a preference for me, certainly. But no smoke without fire and all the rest of it. And the smoke is bellowing on the Lopetegui rumours. And it's understood that there's not only been one meeting. There have been several. So I think with that in mind, I'm quite clear he's coming. So I think I'm trying to look at it. And as is the way I try and do things, trying to look for some positives in it. And so I was sort of trying to look at why are so many people so anti. Well, you're so anti this manager that there's a petition about it. Now, I think the first thing to say is that Lopetegui was very close to getting the AC Milan job, and then apparently the Rossoneri, which are the AC Milan fans, they did a petition themselves, as I understand it. And they said no. Now, I've tried to look into it as much as I could because I was a little bit puzzled. Because for me, my concerns about this manager coming in are style of football and will he promote academy players. Those are my 2 primary concerns. And when I say style of football, we'll get to that in a bit. But one thing that was troubling me about Italian fans doing it, because he's got the reputation of being a defensive manager. I thought, why would the Italians have a problem with that? That's very much in their culture. It's in their nature. When I looked more deeply into it, that didn't seem to be the source of the concern from AC Milan fans. It was that he wasn't a big enough name. And that seems to be the driving factor behind their petition. I think, okay, so their concerns are sort of different to ours, really. But I think with that petition, I am slightly concerned, that he might be coming into a very, very sort of hostile and toxic atmosphere, and I don't think that would be particularly healthy for West Ham. I think the other thing is I've never been of the mindset that I would get to choose a manager anyway. As I think the trouble is with doing something like that is ultimately you will get a whole mixed bag, because if the answer is not Lopetegui and you're going to take Canvas fan opinion for that, then who? I'm a big believer that we've appointed Tim Steidten and Tim Steidten should pick the next manager. That's just what I believe to be the case. Maybe, just maybe... See, I think we've all convinced ourselves that Steidten doesn't want this guy. Well, maybe he does. I don't know. I don't know enough about it at all. However, maybe, just possibly, they've agreed to work with one another. I mean, one thing is very clear, that David Moyes and Tim Steidten are not working alongside one another at all. I know I said I wouldn't overly mention him, but I think Moyes' press conference yesterday was pretty clear. Without him saying the actual words, he made it pretty clear. Tim's got his job to do and I've got mine. So it's clear that Steidten is out looking for a manager and out looking to recruit ahead of next season. I find it very difficult with that in mind to believe that he would not be on board with whoever West Ham bring in. Because if he's not on board, then we have screwed this situation up massively. Obviously, I hope that we haven't. So I started to look at it and think, well, okay, so the style of football thing. Let me just have a little look at this. So as far as I can see, and I've looked as much as I can, his style of football is a possession-based style, but it's with the mantra of if we have the ball, the opposition can't score. He loves clean sheets. Absolutely loves them. So I think for me, it's not my style of football because I don't particularly like over possession-based football. I like fast. I quite like, I'm going to admit it, and I've said it for years now. I quite like the way that Liverpool play. It's fast. I like fast football. It's Premier League style football. I like that. So possibly Lopetegui's football is not going to be for me. That's why I say I was nervous about doing this video, if you like, because my opinion of it is quite nuanced. There's a lot of things that I'm thinking that are conflicting one another, So I do have a certain amount of reticence about bringing this guy in, but I do wonder, is he as bad as everybody thinks? Would it be as disastrous as everybody makes out? So the style of football, possibly not great. But then I was reading a lot of the stuff that happened from him at Wolves. So it's a case of looking at what he did at Sevilla, about looking at what happened at Wolves. Obviously, you've got to look at the Madrid stuff, which wasn't good. So his win ratio at Madrid was awful. Look at Sevilla and Wolves. This is a guy with a consistent top 6, top 7 finish. If you just, from when he took over at Wolves, they would have finished on the top 6, basically. So it appears that he is a defensive manager, albeit one that likes possession, but he's probably better at the defending part than David Moyes is or was, whatever. He used to do this thing, so apparently he's very good at galvanising team spirit. There's a lot of the Wolves players who said that was the case, including our own sort of Craig Dawson. He used to do a bonus meal. The players would get a bonus meal. It was basically a night out, a clean sheet dinner, clean sheet meal, or something like that. Basically, the whole squad would go out with him and his coaches. They'd all go out for dinner. They'd all go out to a restaurant and have a night out if they got a clean sheet. So that was part of his thing. So clearly, these things are really, really important to him. There was something actually which I sort of did know, but I'd forgotten, that one of his coaches was a former coach of West Ham women as well. Was interested in reading about him as well, but this is sort of quite vogue at the moment, a whole set piece thing, which is Ange Postecoglou is refusing to have a set piece coach because, of course, they've been completely and utterly outdone on set pieces recently, Tottenham. And when he's been pressed on it, Ange in his press conference has said, no, I'm going to stick to what I do. So Lopetegui's got a set-piece specialist. I found this much out. Like everybody else, he seems to want to bring his son with him. But this is just what happens. They're all doing it, aren't they? I mean, they're all doing it. As Steidten's brought his brother in. Moyes' brother's at the club. Obviously, David Sullivan's children are both at the club as well. I think all the Gold family was certainly involved with the football club. Huselos, his son was there. Pellegrini's son was there. I just think it's just what's done. Everybody seems to do it. I think it was the case when Allardyce was possibly, he was his son, an agent at West Ham used. I might have that wrong. But yeah, so Lopetegui's son would be part of the furniture. In terms of his football, though, as I say, it's maybe not the best, but he does seem to foster and build a good camaraderie. I think team spirit is very, very important to him. He seems to really value leadership, so I can't imagine what's happened at West Ham with regard to the captaincy would be allowed to carry on for much longer. I think he'd probably deal with that. He likes big characters, he likes leaders, and I think he doesn't suffer fools. He gets people out of there pretty quickly if they're not the right characters. The whole thing about I was reading about it. I tried to research about the young players as best as I could. It's not that he doesn't like young players. I think the accusation, he has bought and signed and played young players. He will do that. He also really does appreciate sort of the influence of senior players as well. It's more the academy graduates, and I think I really hope, this is still my major concern. I think with this, I'd really hope that that he would try and bring through some of the West Ham youngsters. I think this is important. But I would certainly hope that not only would Tim Steidten impress that upon him, but also Mark Noble. I mean, because if Noble doesn't, and I don't mean this in any disrespect, Noble. I love Noble to bits. You know, he's been a really great servant for West Ham. I would almost argue the point, what's the point in him being here? He'd have been here, he'd have done 2.5 seasons or whatever as technical director, with his job role being to bring academy players through into the first team. And if it's not happened, it's clearly not happening, it's clearly not working. I wouldn't overly necessarily blame Noble for it, by the way, but it would just mean that there was no real drive from the club to make it happen. And I would certainly suggest that not only should Noble leave, I'd probably suggest that a lot of the academy players should probably want to get out of the club as well, but because they're just not going to progress here. But I am a great believer in... Basically, there's a lot of people in this life, I find, say, I take as I find. And they say the words, but actually they don't. They prejudge people. And I'm always someone that says I take as I find. Now, I think football's a little bit different because you can do your research and you can find out. I'm truly trying to do that here. But I think if Lopetegui does get a point, they've got to sort of take as I find. Rather, basically, if Lopetegui's got to fail, he's going to fail. Surely he has to fail by his actions. Surely he can't fail because of what I suspect he might do. Because everyone's screwed on that premise, right? We're all screwed, aren't you? You're screwed because of what I think you might do. I'm screwed because of what you think I might... Oh, well, you know, that Gonzo, that video he's going to do next week, I don't like it. This is sort of what we're looking at here with this sort of stuff. I think we all want to have our say on a manager. It's not just a manager. I really wanted to sign that Jonathan Rowe in January. I really wanted to sign him. I didn't want Ibrahim Osman. I wanted Jonathan Rowe. That's what I wanted. I've got my own ideas who I want as manager. I've discussed them on this channel on numerous times enough. I've got my own ideas about how West Ham should play. I've got this sort of rotation thing in my mind with Kudus, and he's swapping positions, and with Bowen, and it's all very fluid. And then so sometimes you get like Bowen on the left, and he can whip over a really direct cross with his left foot, and sometimes he'll pop up in the middle for his goals, and sometimes he's operating on the right, and Kudus is in there as well, and the opposition haven't got a clue what we're going to do. This is in my mind. That's what I'm thinking West Ham should play. But ultimately, we can't do that for every fan. We can't pick the manager that I want and the winger that I want and play my style of football. And I certainly can't be petitioning every time I want something to happen. So at some point, we have to trust the director of football. And I don't trust that David Sullivan can get this stuff right. But I do have to trust that Tim Steidten can. And that's the idea. And maybe it might not be Lopetegui that comes in. Maybe it'll be somebody else. But it's looking more likely. And there's one thing, just going back to, lost my train of thought there, just going back to this youngsters thing. So I started to look. It's a very hard thing to, it's a very, very hard thing to research, actually, in terms of his attitude towards it. However, one story did come to mind. And it was how Lopetegui made all of the senior players. I'm just sort of looking. Sorry if it looks like I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the screen. Lopetegui made all of his senior players attend an under-21 game. Basically, the Arsenal under-21 game. He insisted that a large group of players, including Ruben Neves, Mateus Cunha, Daniel Podence, Hwang Ji-chan, Nelson Semedo, Nathan Collins, Kilman, Martinho, Lamina, and striker Raul Jimenez. He'd taken them all to watch this under-21 game and insisted that all the squad were there. It's more of this camaraderie and team building. Now, I think, a lot of the general consensus was in that game, Pedro Neto was making his way back. So there's some people saying maybe he was just there and making sure all the teammates went and saw Neto. But, I find it hard to fully buy into the concept that he has no interest in the under-21s if he's making all the first-team players attend the games. I don't know. Maybe I'm scratching around. Maybe I'm looking for reasons to feel more positive about it. And I think that's okay as well. I think you've heard all the reasons. All the reasons not to want Lopetegui are out there. They're all really, really negative, and they're out there. And a lot of them are concerning, and they're worrying. And this whole Spanish David Moyes thing is a concern. And I think the style of football does worry me, but ultimately, if it's going to get us back up into 6th or 7th position and get us back into European positions, I think, maybe we'll take it. but it needs to be slightly more entertaining. I would feel that, but he's going to know that as well. He won't be oblivious to the noise about all this. He will know this petition is going on. He'll know it. I don't know. I don't know anything about him really, apart from what I've read and what I've tried to find out. But I do know a little bit about human nature, and people do have a tendency to try and prove other people wrong. And I just wonder if there will be an element of that about him. Well, I'll show you. He might be thinking, I can bring through some young players. I can defend and I can score goals. And to be fair, I think in those last the snippet I looked at, the last 7 games where they scored 9, they conceded like bugger all. But I think they scored 9 in the 7 games that this little snippet I was looking at. Well, it's not great, is it? It's just over a goal a game. It is pretty much sounding an awful lot like 1-0s and stuff like that. Would he expand on that? Yeah, well, you'd certainly hope so. But I would forward the motion that he would possibly have more attacking players at his disposal. Certainly more resources, more high wages to utilise than he had at Wolves. So I don't know whether that would sort of improve things or improve the style of football or not. I honestly don't know. But I do wonder if he comes in, is he going to be good, bad or indifferent? The truth of the matter is I don't know. And much of it can't be about results, because he does look not great at Real Madrid, it has to be said. But by and large at clubs, his other clubs, he has got results. So I think that's probably why he's appealing. Certainly to the owner. If you believe the rumours, then it's David Sullivan's very much pushing for this. Those are the rumours. And as we understand it, at this point, I'm even conscious as I record this video now at sort of like lunchtime on Saturday, that just maybe, there'll be more news comes out now, because the rumours are also that there are still people at West Ham who haven't given up on Ruben Amorim. That would be good. I mean, we really like his project, don't we? Like the Amorim project. That sounds good. His way of doing things. He does bring young players through. He does play attacking football. But I do wonder if this is the safe pair of hands for West Ham. And I'm just putting it out there. The truth of the matter is I don't know. I don't know. But I think if we do sign him, and I'm talking about Lopetegui here, I hope that he's not as bad as everybody's saying. Without having seen him, there just appears to be a lot of doom and gloom around him. And I'll say what I said. I'll bookend this video with what I said at the end, what I said at the start of the video. I'm not saying I want to bring this guy in. I'm just looking at it and thinking, could his appointment at West Ham be as cataclysmic, because that's how it's looking, as cataclysmic as so many people are making out?